Welcome to the People Experience Pulse podcast, your gateway to the new frontier of human experiences at work. On the PX Pulse, we're all about elevating experiences, fostering belonging, and building remarkable workplace cultures in a fast evolving world.
Today, we're going to dive into social media. Is it discourse, healthy discourse, or a distraction? And as always, I'm here with my co-host, Vicki, Flier, Hudson. How's it going, Vicki?
Oh, it is going. How are you?
I am doing okay. We're recording this early in the morning, and we were both claiming to be not very chipper today. So we're going to bring our best selves to this. I'm sure you've all been there and felt that way before.
Yes.
So we want to get into the topic of social media and understanding, like, if you haven't changed someone's mind on social media, why keep trying? You know, digital discourse is more divisive than ever. So how should we as people first leaders engage? And is strategic online presence critical for leadership capability? So we kind of want to dive into that today because I know it's on the top of mind of a lot of our listeners, as we've heard. So Vicki, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I hear a lot from leaders and clients that they feel like they have to have a social media presence. I have to get better about LinkedIn. There's a lot of have tos around that. And I'm wondering, do they really have to? Uh, that's, I think, what we need to discuss today.
That's right. Yeah. For some reason, everyone feels that urge. And I know that the idea of credibility and what do you stand for, not retreating back into invisibility, and, understanding, is it worth the time and energy to be a thought leader online? And how much does that thought leadership benefit the company? Does it benefit your brand? Does it further your mission? And time is just fleeting. You can't, that's the only resource that we can never really get back. So I know that
Exactly.
everyone's struggling with that.
Yeah. And also, another question I would add to that is, if you hate doing it, is it something you really need to do? Or maybe somebody else takes that function for you. Because I always say that leaders should not do too much nobody should, but leaders who have such limited bandwidth should not do things they truly hate to do. And some leaders really hate being engaged on social media, but they feel like they kind of have to.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And they wonder which platforms, and is ubiquity the goal? Do I need to be everywhere all at once, or do I need to just like double down on LinkedIn because I'm a business and a business leader? So let's kind of dive into that really through the lens of online discourse. Because I think that's the fear of like just saying the right thing or saying the wrong thing and getting into a pickle. But there is kind of the psychology of online discourse, and people really don't engage online to change their minds. They really engage to defend them. And so having a perspective online sometimes seems a bit dangerous because you can get yourself into an endless loop of division. And most online arguments reinforce division versus resolution. And so there comes kind of the digital exhaustion of how constant engagement can distract from real leadership because you get so sucked in to the rabbit hole of it. Is that something that you're hearing too with your coaching clients, Vicki?
Oh my gosh, yes. Digital exhaustion is a real thing and I think even with AI, it's going to become more so, because now AI is an incredible tool, and it's integrating itself into just about every social media platform. So now you have to make double decisions of whether you want, how much of your content are you wanting to train their models, and what kind of security and this and that. The pace of it is very fast, and the having to feel like you have to defend yourself, or at the very least, if you see something that somebody said online that makes you upset, you have to spend energy having that feeling, even if you don't end up defending yourself. So yeah, people are tired. Absolutely.
Very tired. Yeah. And so the question, like we said, is should leaders engage in online debates at all? And how can leaders use social media for influence and not reaction? Because influence ultimately should be used as a force for good, that we believe as people first leaders. And I know that all of you believe in. And there's an opportunity there, but there's also the distractions that you have to be able to guard against. So we want to talk about the art of intentional engagement. And the first thing that we wanted to talk about here was just knowing your goal. Are you trying to educate, persuade, or defend? And I think that's an important distinction that you should know going into any post, any article, any comment, and just run that through your brain. Educate, persuade, or defend. What do you think about that, Vicki?
I agree. And I would even add that rule for, and then another little tip I'll give for responding to posts. So even if you're not posting, but if you are responding to something, take 4 seconds. We've talked about this on prior episodes, but I can't stress this enough. If you see a post that, as a leader that you feel like you need to maybe educate or defend, just take a few seconds before you respond because it'll shift your brain chemistry into a better place to respond, as you said, Jeff, more intentionally. And we also want to offer something called the rule of three. If a conversation takes more than 3 exchanges, it is best to move it offline. Now, there are a few exceptions to that, cross-culturally speaking, or people who are on the autism spectrum or who struggle to communicate verbally might actually prefer to keep the exchanges in writing, and that's okay, but you can move them to private message. So not basically take it out of the public forum if it continues on like that.
I couldn't agree with that more. Yeah, take it offline is always a good mantra. And I wanted to get into just some of the ways that we can navigate social media effectively, and maybe bring up an example that you talked about before, Vicki, about the leader that we know from one of our clients that posted about someone with tattoos and would you hire this person? And it sparked a big debate. So I wanted to kind of bring that up as an example if we could.
Yeah, one of our clients, their CEO, is just really thoughtful online. His posts they somehow manage to strike a balance between taking a stand and appealing to everyone. I'm not even sure how he does that. We have a lot to learn, from him. But he posted a picture of, I believe it was an employee at this company, and he said, the guy had tattoos on both of his arms, and he said, would you hire this person for your IT security team or whatever the position was? And said, if not, why not? Because what does his having tattoos have to do with his skill set? And he really kind of, drew you in, and then ultimately gave a really positive message, but it was a message that took a stand because he was basically saying that broaden your definition of professionalism to include people who look like this guy because his skill set has nothing to do with his appearance. And so he was kind of challenging people, but not in a defensive negative way. He was just sort of inviting us to think a little bit more deeply about how we look at the word professional, which you know how I feel about that word. It has too many meanings to put it into a trap there. But I just thought he did an excellent job. And same with the responses. You could tell they were very thoughtful, that he didn't rush into defending himself. And I think that's the balance we have to strike. It's not easy.
Now, consider that that post is in a public forum, and as a company that values people first as a core value, they value inclusion and belonging. That's visible not only to the public eye, but it's visible to the people in the organization. And I can only imagine that anybody who made a conscious decision to join that company because of its values felt a little bit of energy around that. It probably made them feel a little bit more secure in that decision. Like they made the right one because their leader is modeling that in the public eye. And to me, that's a healthy use of social media discourse and using your platform for influence, and that influence as a force for good versus just using it as a way to market your company or to virtue posture online, and give all these signals that you're a great person or a great leader. That's authentic, and it's authentically tied to the values it's made visible for that organization. So that is time well spent, in my opinion.
I hadn't even thought of that about how it makes the employees in that company feel, but you're absolutely right because I remember, we are consultants for this company. We're not even employees, but we've been part of the team for, gosh, 3 years almost. And I remember after reading that post, I had to run to a meeting with the same company, not with the CEO, but with one of our other team members there that we work with. And I didn't have makeup on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't put my makeup on yet. And then I said to myself, wait a second, this is a company that doesn't care about that. Like they just care about my skill set. And I showed up at the meeting without makeup. And actually, I stopped wearing makeup at work after that completely. So it was really influential, and so you're right. I can't even imagine how people who work there might have felt
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So consider the upside of engaging in online discourse in that kind of positive manner, how empowering that is, how it reinforces the values, how it brings people together. All your stakeholders can clearly see that this isn't just rhetoric or values that are written on the wall, that it's actually lived out and made visible like that. So it has just such a tremendous impact when you're able to use it in that way. And so we wanted to share a practical framework when it comes to posting, reacting, responding, commenting, all of the stuff that you would do on LinkedIn or any social platform. So as always, we're going to try to boil it down into a nice pithy acronym for you. So Vicki, what do we have?
Okay, so today we have the PREP model, PREP. And the P stands for pause. So pause, take 4 seconds, don't react immediately, and ask yourself if this engagement is worthwhile. The R is for reflect. So again, sort of is reflecting on this. Is this debate worth having, or is it a distraction to my actual leadership? And the E is for engage strategically. So if you decide to engage, great, but do it only if it aligns with your values and goals or what you stand for. And the P, the second P, is to prioritize real conversations. So move those important discussions offline or at least into a private forum like private messaging or whatever. But don't just keep having endless exchanges on public social media platforms because you can't ever take that back, right, Jeff?
Love it. And I love this acronym. I love particularly the engage strategically, as we talked about, making sure it aligns with values and goals, but also not just trying to be something to everybody. Thinking about if you're going to spend designated time, a short period of time each day, each week, to engaging on LinkedIn, let's say, make sure that that is geared towards the stakeholders that you aim to serve. Don't just go on there and try to engage with the entire LinkedIn community because that's millions of people and you can't do that. And so think about more targeted engagement that's tied to the values and goals, but strategically engaging your stakeholders in a way that is uplifting, in a way that's in service to the business and the mission. And that'll serve you really well. So some practical takeaways, just reflect on when to engage and when to disengage. And think about just developing, even if it's just a 1-page brief, a creative kind of social media engagement strategy. Authenticity over marketing speak is so important. Who are you targeting? How do you want to authentically show up? Figure out your voice and use that voice and influence as a force for good. Anything else to add to that, Vicki?
Oh, I think you nailed it, my friend.
And just remember that influence happens in real world actions, not online debates. Just bring that authentic self and it'll serve you well. So make sure that it's a tool for leadership, not a trap. And think about what's one boundary that you can set just to protect your leadership focus and make sure that you're leading more and reacting less. I think that's all we've got for today. Right, Vicki?
I think so. So go out there and do good work.
Until next time.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another insightful episode of the People Experience Pulse. We hope the words shared in this episode have inspired you as much as they've inspired us. Now the real challenge begins, putting what you've learned into practice. The change you create, no matter how small, could be the spark that ignites an exceptional people experience in your organization and beyond. If you found value in today's conversation, we'd greatly appreciate it if you took a moment to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Your feedback helps us deliver high-value content and reach more listeners like you. You can find other inspiring episodes and additional resources at our website, thepxpulse.com. Join our community at thepxpulse.com. Thank you again for joining us on the People Experience Pulse. Until next time, remember, the heartbeat of any organization is its people. Let's make every pulse count.